Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true and open debate they've been looking for. Tonight, we're going to have a straight-out political debate on any number of topics headlining in the press over the past few months. The future of Grand Bahama is paramount to its survival. Residents are desperate for the economy of that island to turn around from its dismal state. We're also going to talk about that along with the improvements the police are making in the war against crime, the PLP's upcoming convention, the housing initiative, and lots more. Our topic tonight is open debate, all parties out, no holds barred. And representing the country's three major political parties are the former Consul General for Atlanta under the PLP, Randy Rowe, Bushami Ambrister, a pilot and former DNA candidate, and former president of the FNM's Youth Armed Torchbearers, Carlisle Bethel. It's all on the record. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our discussion begins on the other side of this break.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home.
With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you.
Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax through our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
Are you afraid to swipe your card and you don't like to carry cash? If so, you need checks. Executive Printers can make checks for all your needs. They have laser checks, personal checks, continuous checks, and more. All checks have up to 15 security features, so you know you'll be protected. You can even customize your checks. Come and see one of our experts today, or log on to epbahamas.com for more info.
And welcome back to On the Record. We're going to take a look at a number of issues tonight, crime and corruption certainly within our first segment, along with a few other topics. Our topic tonight, though, is open debate, all parties out, no holds barred. My guests are Randy Rowe, former Consul General to Atlanta under the Progressive Liberal Party, Carlisle Bethel, who's the president of the Torchbearers. I'm sorry I called you the former president, which is certainly the youth arm of the Free National Movement, and Bushami Ambrister, who is a former candidate of the Democratic National Alliance. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Good morning. So I want to really start out at the crux of why we put this show together. We've not had a good debate in our studio in a while, and we thought this would be a good time to speak to the state of politics and national issues within the country. Carlisle, I'm going to start with you. As the FNM is in power at the helm, you have control of the country, both hands are on the wheel. Are you concerned at this point that people are losing faith in the FNM, given a lot of the public angst and outcry about a lot of things that have happened since the election? We've been a year plus now, and a lot of people seem to be unhappy with the FNM. How concerned are you about that?
It's always, a government always wants to be aware of how the people feel. I think that for so long the people were subjected to terrible governance, and so the anticipation of seeing things happen, and they want it to happen now, and they want it to happen in the first year and a half. That is kind of playing out. But I think that when you take a step back and look at some of the things that have been done, you can see that they're getting things done. They're putting things in place that they would have promised. But like Dr. Minnis always says, we have 5 years. You promised me 5 years, give me 5 years. It's been only a year and a half. But I think that definitely, as time goes on, some people will be more, see the government more favorable, and some will see unfavorable. But it's just a matter of managing both sides of it.
Bushman, do you think people are losing faith and losing heart in the FNM?
Most definitely.
Why?
Unfortunately, I don't feel the same way that he does. I think I've never seen, maybe you have, but I've not seen people being so disenfranchised with the government so quickly. I mean, it's what, a year and 5 months? And the only thing that seems to be moving on the right track, I would say, is the crime. I think Marvin Dams is doing a pretty good job with sweating the small stuff. Mm-hmm. That's something that we campaign on. The broken window theory, like what they did in the island of Manhattan. Sweat the small stuff, seatbelts, broken taillights. And numbers don't lie. Murders are down 34%. Yeah. You know, so, but look in Freeport. And I think we're going to talk about that at some point, so I'll speak to that when we get to that point.
Randy?
Well, you know, I asked the question, Jerome, is it still a people's time? Based on what I'm hearing on the ground, certainly the misery index of the country, people are hurting, people are upset, people are not happy with the government. When I came on the show the first time, I think it was still the honeymoon period. And so, you know, I was very much more relaxed. But now, you know, people expect results. On May 10th, 2017, the FNM was given a mandate to govern and govern from day one. And I think people are ready to see that happen now.
But remember, if the DNA were government, what would you have done in the first year and 5 months? If you found yourself in government at this point, what would you have done differently? What are some of the key things that you would have done differently?
Well, Freedom of Information Act, for one, is something that we were big on. I think we would have brought that to legislation by now. We would have tried to deal with the dump issue as soon as possible. I don't think that there's the FNM at this point is doing anything with regards to the dumps.
We just put in place a major behaving company to manage it.
Yeah,
I mean, the Freedom of Information
but
legislation was put forward.
Go on.
But nothing is happening. And Mr. McCartney also talked about removing some of the powers of the Prime Minister, all right? Removing the Crown land of the hands of the Prime Minister, creating a land bureau, okay? So there's a number of things that we...
but those would have been priority issues for the DNA?
Crime would have been definitely priority. All right, crime definitely would have been priority. And like I said, I think the FNM is doing, so far, they seem to be moving on the right track. Crime would have been probably number one. Because at the time of, during the election, crime was really out of control, okay?
Had the PLP returned to power, Randy, what kind of country would we have been looking at this point?
Well, certainly I believe that the PLP has had the country going on the right direction. Certainly it takes time. For example, we had to make a lot of hard decisions. The implementation of the value-added tax in the beginning from 7.5%. But certainly we were moving in the right direction. Mind you, there were some things that the people felt that, hey, you know, we weren't pleased with it, and so the PLP was voted out of office.
Would you have increased value-added tax?
Pardon me?
Would you have increased value-added tax?
I don't know the numbers to say so, but based on what we had in place, there was no need for it to be increased at the time that we were in office.
Man, Jerome, I don't like to stick on the past, right? But I think it's completely disingenuous for Randy to sit here and say that the country is moving in the right direction. There was 4 downgrades. Every year there was you could put your money on a downgrade. Crime was out of control. The budget was being busted every time. This fella, man, come on, man. We can't sit here and just lie on live TV like this, man.
Yeah,
but people's mind, people don't have short-term memory, you know. They remember these things. So, I mean, we could talk about what we want to do moving forward, but let's not fudge the past now.
Go ahead.
Let's be real now. I mean, the FNM, the only thing, Bahama, the PLP, I mean, Christie, now we see that it was a good decision. That's what's keeping the FNM really going.
Exactly.
Now. I mean, so I mean, you can't sit here and say that.
Go ahead.
So you can't sit here and say that everything was moving down. Things take time, okay? Things take time. And sometimes...
He just said they need 5 years.
And sometimes things become to fruition not in my term. But when you take over, if we were to lose the election, you understand? And that's what you see happening now.
And had it not been for Bahama, now, we would have been.
But here's the thing. There's a few things we have to remember, right? One is that everyone knows, and the Bahamas, the economy of the Bahamas heavily dependent on the success of Bahama. The problem with the
Did
PLP,
the FNM
the
support it?
problem with the PLP,
Did the
did-
FNM
the
support
problem
it?
with the PLP did was that they dragged on the opening of it
Did the FNM support
by
it?
blatant interference. Man, let me
blatant
talk.
interference?
But it was blatant interference. Whether it was
Like Randall Kyle that we'll talk about a little later?
whether it was sidelining contracts for themselves, whether it's interfering and shaking down the investors, they delayed. The PLP was integral in delaying the opening of Bahama. And we talk about the tourism numbers that
That's
recently.
foolishness.
We talk about the tourism numbers that
That's
recently come out,
foolishness.
right?
Why do you
But
say
let's
that?
talk
Foolishness.
about the tourism numbers that recently came out. It shows that tourism is booming right now, right? And people like to say it's because of Bahama. Not necessarily so. What we see is an increase of tourism to the family islands. That is an intentional focus by the Ministry of Tourism. Abaco just released record numbers.
Foolishness, because of the
Abaco released
hurricane
record numbers.
last year.
Blaming the hurricane.
That's
still, man,
why.
still
That's
blaming-
why the tourism numbers
Still,
are up.
still blaming
So,
hurricane.
I'm in the industry.
Carlisle,
I'm in the
if I
industry.
could too, and let's advance the discussion a bit. One of the things I just read recently was very critical of the FNM, saying that at this juncture in governance, they are still blaming the PLP for a lot of what is happening in the country. I mean, you've had a year, almost a year and a half now, to take ownership, and that is a huge criticism. FNM say now, enough is enough.
No, it's not. It's not a matter of blaming the PLP. You know, we don't have to do that. People already blame.
Do you admit though that it is happening?
What we are doing is reminding the people because and let me tell you why. And let me
So when will you start governing?
let me tell you why I was asked. Let me tell you
When
why
will
it's
you start
important. Let me tell you why it's
Hold on.
important. The governance has started, but it's important to remind people because right now the leader of the PLP was integral in what happened in the past in the 5 years while living in government. He was riding shotgun while Perry was driving us over the cliff. All right, so it's important to remind them that the
But
party
you're
is
feeling
still the same
the
party
benefits of a
that
PLP
for 5
government.
years.
Okay, so why talk about the bad? What about the good?
No, I just spoke about the
Okay.
good. I just spoke about the tourism numbers. I spoke
No, I'm
about
talking
you spoke about the
I'm talking
reduction in
about some of the
crime.
things that, and I'm not saying defending the PLP. I just give credit where credit is due. You know, you cannot up until what yesterday, you had them saying that the whenever something doesn't go the FNM way, you know what? Because of what the PLP did every time. All right, now they're saying that it's
That's
the
Carl Comer's tagline.
civil servants now who are PLP supporters are holding back the ministries. That's foolishness, man. All right, you are the leader, you are the government. Do what you have to do to govern.
You see, I
Listen, on May 10th, 2017,
you must
the
always
PLP
remind
was
people
fired.
of
Now,
history.
I
Remind them of
want
history.
to I want us to continue to move the discussion forward too, because despite the growing criticism of the FNM, one of the things that I hear people say is that they are, as far as they're concerned, the PLP has no ground to stand on. In many instances, in some of the criticism, you were just in office for 5 years. You are now criticizing some of the same things that were happening under
Deputy
your
Prime
governance.
Minister.
How do you justify that? And to the point, the leader of the party held a very senior position in government at the time, and some of the decisions were made that now you are very critical of. So how do you now justify that when people say, hey, anyone but you?
Jerome, the same way that he said, listen, we were given a mandate for 5 years to govern. The PLP was given a mandate for 5 years to govern. We governed in those 5 years, and based on what the PLP did, these are the results that you're seeing now. Crime being down, it does not happen overnight.
So
we
you're
give
saying the
some
crime
credit.
numbers are the result of what the
We give
PLP
some
left in
credit.
place?
Crime numbers were going downward since Bernard Nodge was the Minister of National Security.
Bushman, you agree with that?
No, I'm going to give the credit. The crime, like I said, I'm an honest person. Crime,
Murders were down. Check the record.
The crime, I think, is because of what the implementation.
We have a
by
new
the minister.
commissioner.
Yeah,
We have a new
commissioner,
Minister of National
so
Security.
the crime is down because of their initiatives. Okay, but let me tell you what. You know what? Bahamas. We've already tried the FNM. We've already tried the
No,
PLP.
don't. No, I
Right?
need you to put in no. I don't need you to put in no political pitch right now. Let's give you that chance
So
again.
next time,
It's too early to put in
next
that
time,
pitch right
let's
now.
just do-
No, but let's. I do
All right,
want to. I do want to. Yeah, we ain't taking it. I ain't gonna allow you to put in that pitch just yet. No, sir. No. But because I want to talk about the current state we're in. I
Yeah.
mean, like it or not, we've got another.
3.5 years.
3.5 years before we even begin that discussion. But I do want to sort of look at the crime issue because a lot of times parties will say, oh, crime is not a political issue. But now you have the FNM claiming success in crime. So I remember very
And
clearly they were the ones very critical of the PLP and saying, "Oh, you can't politicize crime. It has to be a national issue. You know, it has to be attacked from a national perspective." But now you're saying, "Hey, look at us. Look what we've done." So you know,
And that's my thing, I agree with you, right? At the end of the day, national security and making sure citizens are safe is a fundamental job of any government, right? But I just find it amazing. I mean, Randy is the first person I see could defend the past PLP administration the way he does. It must be because he was in Atlanta. It must be because he was in Atlanta for those 3 years. He isn't aware of the crime situation. What it was under them. It's amazing.
To a point, and I want to bring this up relative to the economy. Just last week on the show, I had the Minister of Tourism on. We had a wide-ranging discussion about tourism and the improvement in the numbers, etc. Across the board, tourism is doing well, which by its very definition means that the economy is doing well. We rely on tourism. But one of the things I asked him was about the criticism of the Baha Mar project and the FNM being very opposed to it. And that was one of the campaign issues. Well, whether you were opposed to it or not, that was what the public received, that the FNM was, even remember some of Dr. Minister's comments.
They weren't opposed to it?
All the FNM asked for was the details of the deal. And they kept it sealed. For years, they kept it sealed. We just wanted to know the details. That's what the public wanted. And as a result of that,
you don't think that did some damage, though?
But no, the deal was they kept everything sealed. And then we found out that they had ministers trying to sideline contracts for themselves. And that's when things blew up.
Give me a second here.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. And part of the crime going down, we can attribute that to the PLP too. Reason being, let me say this to you. When Bahama was being built, right? When Bahama was being built, we had guys who were part of one order, guys who were part of fire and theft, worked on the property. When they came to work, the Chinese told them, look here, any trouble, and you're out here. And they worked in harmony. Okay, so if there is employment, if people are working, crime will go down.
And you got 4,000 people now employed on the property.
You can attribute some of that to the PLP also, not just the FNM. Okay, because they got Bahama because they continue with Bahama and they got it up and running.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a proven. Once things in the economy, the economy starts to look up, people work,
crime goes down.
and the propensity for crime is probably not as great. Randy, I know you want to get in on
there
this
is
discussion.
again, I give credit not only to the Honorable Marvin Daines, but certainly the Commissioner of Police and the men of the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Now, mind you,
men and women,
of course, definitely correct. But there is still a fair of crime that are out there. There are still people, even if you say, hey, it's down 30% or whatever the amount is. You know, how do you explain that to Officer Blatch and his family? You know, because they still lose loved ones. Yeah. There are still people who have a fear of, you know, I know of one lady, the young lady the other day, she was driving home, people stopped and took her for a ride. Yeah. There was also an incident in the West that was not reported, but certainly people there is a fear.
There is a continuing fear of crime.
Yes. But one thing we got to remember too now, let's look at the citizenry. If you notice, a lot of communities now are getting their crime watch together. All right, Seabreeze has a very good one in Imperial Park, and a lot of communities now they're doing their own crime watch, which is doing very well.
Here's my question: Are our people now taking more of an active role in policing themselves and communities? Is that happening?
Definitely. And I think, and to piggyback off of what Bush was saying, is that another policy that the government put out is an active approach in setting up and helping to maintain crime watch associations.
That's true.
And I just want to say condolences to Officer Blatch and his family. But I think when we discuss the crime issue, I think oftentimes we focus heavily on the punishment of criminals and not the rehabilitation and the prevention of the criminality in people.
That's a whole other discussion. But certainly correct. Gentlemen, we are at the point of our first break.
Already?
Yes, already. Time moves very quickly. We have lots more to discuss. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Hurricane season is upon us, and REV wants to ensure that you have all the information that you need to keep your family and valuables safe. We recommend the following. Buy and stock supplies before a storm approaches. Be sure to shop for items like lanterns, flashlights, and batteries to ensure that they are available when you need them. Keep all important documents in a safe and dry place. Create a hurricane safety kit in the event of a mandatory evacuation. These kits should include water, food, blankets, and clothing. Evacuate low-lying areas or communities where flooding advisories have been given. Ensure that you have a full tank of gasoline in all your vehicles. Do not attempt to do electrical work or work on a generator once a storm is within the area. Ensure that you have access to a radio and a landline telephone. If the center or eye of a hurricane passes over your area, there will be a brief period during which the winds will come to a lull. Do not assume that it is safe. Be sure to wait for the all clear given only through the proper authorities. And we hope that you and your family stay safe this hurricane season.
We are back with more on the record tonight. Our topic is open debate, all parties out, no holds barred. Gentlemen, one of the most talked about issues in the past few weeks has come out of Grand Bahama and the purchase of the Grand Lucayan. Up to this point, the government has defended its decision to spend $65 million to purchase that hotel, claiming that they have had to save jobs of the 400 people who work there. They have said the idea is to purchase the hotel and hold it in preparation for resale to another company with the view to keeping the economy of that island going. There has been a lot of back and forth. A lot of Grand Bahamians have weighed in on it. But Carla, I'm going to start with you. There's been a lot of questions about whether the government should have gotten back into the hotel business. I mean, in 1992, when the FNM won and came to office under Hubert Ingram, they went on a very deliberate course to rid the government and the hotel corporation at the time of all of the government-owned hotels. That worked. We have a lot of hotels that have come in and done very well, Atlantis, Breezes, Sandals, and the like. But for many people, this seems to have been a step back. We seem to have regressed now if government is purchasing hotels. Not just the physical structure, you've now got to deal with the employees, their pension issues. And this is a hotel that has been damaged by hurricanes, that is in a state of disrepair, that out of 3 properties, only 1 is open. Okay, I've laid all of that groundwork. How do you continue to justify it? It's already happened, but how do you continue to justify it? Against the backdrop of we've had an increase in value-added tax, we're now paying 12% on everything, and the government finds money to buy a hotel.
I mean, at the end of the day, well, the first few points out the gate is that the government is not in the business of buying hotels, right? Okay, they purchased this hotel. This was an extraordinary purchase. 2, it was not just about 400 jobs. That has a ripple effect on every industry and every property, the property value, everything around it. It has a ripple effect throughout the economy of Grand Bahama, right? So yes, it was a big purchase. But the thing about it too is that, and oftentimes, sometimes we here in Nassau don't fully appreciate or tend to sometimes forget what it's like to live in Grand Bahama or even on a family island. What it's like to spend $7 for a gallon of gas. At the end of the day, the question is, if you were in there, and even with all of the opposition from the PLP, they would have voted for it as well, right? And the question is, would you have in that position? What do you do? Do you let the whole thing fall, let the entire Lucayan strip crumble as well, and go and become defunct like the Grand Bazaar, or do you step in? And sometimes governments have to step in. If it was a purely business decision, it might have been different. But governments have to take into account more than just the bottom line. They have to look at the social impact and how do we build Grand Bahama in general. And so I think when you see the investment into getting the hotel up and running, it's just a piece in a grander vision for Grand Bahama. We would look at the Prime Minister has constantly talked about industry development, and they would have brought down even GIBC Digital, which is now expanding to Nassau. And so it's a broader part of a grander vision for Grand Bahama, and a part of that is showing investors that the government is invested and is fully invested in Grand Bahama.
But the fear is the government could become stuck with this big property now.
Not necessarily so, because if you know, when it comes to buying and selling, so I'm a finance fellow, when it comes to buying and selling stocks, right, you want to buy things low. You want to buy property low. And so right now, property in general in Grand Bahama is extremely cheap. It's extremely cheap because there are no jobs there, no one is living there, so everyone is selling, and when everyone is selling, it puts pressure on the price. So the price is low. And so yes, they would appraise, and so yes, the appraised value, right? And so we always talk about the appraised value. Appraisal values are just guidelines, are just general guidelines, right? It's always, people always buy higher or lower than appraised values. That's anyone who's in real estate knows that, right? And so at the end of the day, once Grand Bahama gets up and running, the value of that hotel, of all the property, of all the businesses, shoots up through the roof. And so yes, the government is buying this hotel, but they could easily sell it for
Gentlemen,
a higher,
I know that you all are
price.
salivating
Now,
to answer.
I don't know where.
Should you give him last?
Go ahead.
All right, I don't know where to begin. First of all, I've seen this movie before. All right. When you have a prime minister like Hubert Ingham make a suggestion, I think you should at least do a feasibility study on it and not just disregard it, because I think he knows what he's saying. Now you're talking about value. First of all, this property was valued at $57 million. How many years ago? Okay. Do you know that the Hutchison Group got $85 million after the hurricane? They did not invest $1 in the hotel. You realize that?
Shame.
Okay. It's a shame, crying shame. Now, secondly, Paul Wren and the Wren Group is a well-respected company throughout the world. The hotel industry is very small worldwide. And if he didn't touch it, I guarantee you we're not going to see Hilton, or we're not going to see any of the big companies come
Major
to buy
brands.
that. Okay, no major brand is going to come and buy it. Now, when you have the government going in and you're going to start off by saying, okay, we're going to buy it for 65, but we know we probably only can sell it for 40. That don't make no sense to me whatsoever. Okay, that makes absolutely no sense. And actually, the people that they are trying to keep their jobs, so they say, they have no faith in the government. Most of them say they want severance packages. You know why they want the severance packages? Because they know, they've seen the government negotiate, all right? And they are not convinced that the government can negotiate with another buyer and they will keep their benefits. So they want to take their severance packages now and leave.
Randy, what was the alternative? Under a PLP, if Hutchison Whampoa, and again, when the minister was here, he said a week after the elections, they said to them, we want to close this hotel. So they've been battling to keep this hotel open. What was a better alternative?
There were ongoing negotiations as relates to when the PLP was in power and Dr. Michael Davo was the Minister of the Grand Bahama. In the words of Chester Cooper, though, I think that the words he used summed it up correctly, an egregiously bad deal. Given the numbers.
better deal?
Why did the PLP vote for it?
Listen to me. First
What
of all,
what would have been the better deal?
again, the better deal was to be there were several options. There were several options, but I think what would have been the better deal is to look at not only the hotel property but the port. Again, too, you can buy this hotel, but you still have a problem because here it is. The fees at the airport are too expensive. And so you have other hotel properties in Grand Bahama now that are failing. Why are they failing? They're failing because tourists are not going to Grand Bahama. So you're going to buy a hotel and say, okay, all of a sudden now we have the hotel, we're saving jobs, so this is going to get better. What's the hotel name next to it? They're hurting.
You mean Pelican Bay?
Pelican Bay. Pelican Bay.
Well,
Mind you,
Pelican
I'm
Bay
also-
actually paints a different picture. They're doing pretty okay.
They're doing okay, but there are other small properties as well too.
Okay, so let me take you back to this scenario. 10 plus years ago, the Royal Oasis, formerly Bahamas Princess, closes. Pretty much in the same situation. Those jobs are lost. The International Bazaar begins a downward spiral. That hotel has never reopened. And the people in Grand Bahama, from my own experience, and I'll term it to you this way. One gentleman said to me, he said, sir, we were looking down the barrel of a gun. And so that, if I can finish, so that is the reality for the people on the ground. And so I keep asking, my question always is, what were the alternatives? If you had a property owner that says, and Hutchison Whampoa made it very clear they were not interested in the hotel business any longer. They have been not interested.
When they bought the port, they didn't want the hotel.
That was a part of the deal when they got
Exactly.
the container port and all these other things. That was a part of the deal. We need you to do this hotel. And that was at that time too, to supplement what was happening with the closure of the Royal Oasis. But they made it very clear they were getting out of the so my question always is, what was the alternative? If this whole property was on the edge, on the brink of closing, and 400 more people were going to be let go into an already struggling economy, which would have then possibly taken the Lucayan marketplace across the street, because if there's no hotel, there's no reason for people to come there.
Exactly.
What would have been the alternative? And Carla, I see you shaking your head, but I want you to answer that as well. What would have been an alternative to all of this? Randy, I'll start with you.
Hubert Ingram, like he suggested to, and fly to Hong Kong, speak with the owners. Certainly when, we just had a deal with Bahama where the former Prime Minister had to fly away and speak with the owners about, listen, how do we make this happen? What happens now? How do we save these jobs? How do we save this property? They did none of that.
So didn't I say when
Yes,
the
exactly.
Prime Minister speak, you should
Exactly.
listen?
So you would agree to that they should have gone and speak to Hutchison Whampoa?
I agree they should
Listen, sorry. When you had the hurricane the other day, the present Prime Minister now, he said, you know what, listen, let me go to the leader of the opposition, let me go to these people, and let's do this together. Certainly this was the perfect opportunity for them to say, you know what, let me call a Perry Christie, let me call a Hubert Ingram, let's put our heads together. This is important for the economy of the Bahamas.
And then you got the last word on that.
And the sad part about this is there's no plan. Like everything else. We're going to buy the hotel and then what? I'm not hearing any talk about I'm not hearing any talk about airlift, how we're going to get this hotel filled. I cruise a lot. And so I talk to people on the cruise all the time. And every time you ask anybody if we're in the Bahamas, oh yeah, we went to Freeport, but Jesus, there's nothing there. We just went back to the boat. Really and truly, at this point, the only thing that can probably bring that hotel chain back is to make it an all-inclusive with everything included on the property, that pretty much like how Atlantis is set up, but all-inclusive, because there's nothing there.
So,
there's absolutely nothing there.
So you heard the criticism, there is no plan.
There is no plan.
But also...
Is there?
So here's the thing. So it's
unseal the deal then.
It's
Unseal the
amazing.
deal.
It's amazing how
Why
Randy is trying to
Why
compare
the
Hutchison.
secrecy?
Come on, let me get some words, man. I was respectful to you,
Go
right?
ahead.
So it's amazing how Randy is trying to compare Bahama to the Grand Lucayan, and two different owners. One owner wants to get out, one owner wants to get in. So that's the immediate disparity there with this comparison, right? Now when we talk about the hotel, they like to say 400 jobs. It's much more than that. You alluded to it yourself, Jerome, when you spoke about the entire strip, all of the vendors, all of the restaurants, all of the drivers. That's much more than 400. It then affects the property value around it. People start to sell their property, they start to leave, right? So a big problem with Grand Bahama is that the population is not there, right, to support the businesses, right? We talk about airlift as well, that's another issue as well. But what happened, I think we need to be honest when we have this discussion. And I think this is why the PLP would have supported this in the House. Randy's leader, all four of his members, they supported it, right? And it's because we could talk about buying the port. We could talk about doing that, and I think it's something that needs to be looked at, right? But at the time, there was a deal that was in place with Hutchison and the Wynn Group, and they were trying to work through the details. And it fell apart at the second. The government now has to make a split decision, has to make a split-second decision. What do? Do you buy it or do you don't? It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no question. We could beat around the bush and talk about the port and talk about this and talk about that, but in that instance, do you say yes or do you say no? There are people's lives in Grand Bahama depending on the success of that entire Lucayan strip, not just the hotel.
Okay, so what's the plan?
Why did the negotiations break
I
down?
explained. The plan is not just for the hotel, you know.
Slow on. Give me a second.
Why did the negotiations break down?
In order for something to succeed, all right, there has to be a plan.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
You're talking about 400 jobs indirectly from the hotel.
Much
okay?
more than
okay,
400.
yes.
Much more than 400. Much more than 400.
Hold on. But more importantly, we need to fill the hotel first.
Yes, and so
how is that going to be done?
So let me explain. And so, like I mentioned in my opening salvo about this, is that the plan for Grand Bahama is a grander vision. It's not just, and this is simply a piece.
What is this grand vision? What is the grand vision?
You would have heard it multiple times. Kwesi Thompson, the minister for Grand Bahama, has always spoke about making it a tech hub, making it a place that business set up.
Talk. What is the plan? What's the plan?
GIBC is a great example of a company that's set up.
Listen to
So
me.
it's not talk.
Alright,
This
listen-
is actually happening.
It's making up as they go along.
I just went to Grand Bahama. It's
Listen-
actually
listen
happening.
to me again, and I'm sure you know about a feasibility study, right?
Of course.
Okay. Talk is cheap.
Yes.
Money by land.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
And businesses are setting up in Grand Bahama.
What is the plan?
The plan, it's been laid out multiple times, man. They speak about bringing businesses to Grand Bahama, making it a tech hub.
Talk. Listen to me again. Hold on. Listen to me again.
This,
Just listen to me again.
Yes.
Talk is cheap.
but I just gave
Money
you,
buys land.
gave you a
Listen,
company.
you keep saying
I
it's
just,
cheap.
I just gave you a company
Is it now?
that's set up
Okay,
there specifically for that. We look at a place like
is it
Elnet
Carlisle?
Maritime.
Okay,
You see the
so
plan?
is it that
I see the plan.
is it that you all have not done a good enough job of articulating, because he keeps asking what is the plan, and
There's
that
no
is
plan.
the
He said
question.
talk, we
And there
talk,
are
we
some
speak,
things
we
that are
speak,
happening, and let me say that are based upon our visit there and some of the people that I've talked to and some of the things that I see. There is some movement. I think they're even looking to do the tech summit again this year to try again to look at make. But again, and this goes back to a fundamental problem that the FNM continues to have. It is as if whatever you're doing is being done under a bushel that people don't see and or don't know about, and you're doing a really terrible job
And they accuse you
of
of PLP.
talking about what it
Yes.
is that you are doing and articulating that vision. And to be quite honest, it appears that you spend more time reacting to the crises than talking about the things that are happening. And interestingly, as I sit there week after week and I talk to people within the party, etc., you learn about things that are happening, but it is always in the context of this controversy, and now, oh, by the way, this is also happening.
And the sad part about all this is that, and the word is already out, and the Chinese already realize this. The government is negotiating from a point of they're negotiating from a point of weakness, okay? And they're gonna have to continue negotiations on a point of weakness with this hotel, and everybody knows that this is gonna be a bad deal.
So, my simple question.
Was the Oban deal a part of this plan?
Yes or no question to them. Would they, if they had a vote in the House, would they vote yes or no? It's a simple question.
Yes or no, guess what?
Was the
Just
Oban
to
deal a
buy the
part of this
hotel.
plan?
If you were to make it to the House and you want to vote, would you buy the yes or no? It's a simple question, man.
No, let me answer you.
Okay.
If I was in the House, right, okay, and I had some say, in any group you go in, any organization, the past president is usually an advisor, right? I would have listened to what Mr. Ingram said.
Would you have voted yes or no for the hotel?
Listen to me. I would have listened to what Mr. Ingram have said, and I would have taken my black behind and Randy, because Randy would be with the DNA next come 2022. And I would have flown to Japan or China. I would have sat down. I would have spoken to whoever I needed to speak to, and then I would have come back, and then we would have made a
So would you have
decision.
voted, if you were in the House when they voted, would you have voted yes or no? That's the question.
Well, like I said,
That's the question.
Randy, what about, would you have
Would
voted
vote
yes or no for the deal if you sat you would have voted
What?
against
Your
your
leader voted wrong?
I would
Your leader
not
voted
support
wrong?
this deal. It's a bad deal.
It is a
It's a
bad deal.
religious bad deal, and we should not be involved.
So
in
the
it.
PLP made a bad
I
vote.
said,
The PLP made
you
a bad
asked
vote.
me my opinion.
Wow,
I said,
that's
had
powerful.
I been in the House,
That is
I would
powerful.
not have supported this deal.
Gentlemen, this is a good time for us to take a
Brave,
break.
watch him, watch him, Brave.
We have
Watch him, Brave,
dug
watch him.
into the Grand
Not
Bahama and
supported.
Grand Bahama.
Watch him,
We
Brave.
are going to take our break. We're in an open debate,
a
folks.
Glennis
So
man.
if you are just tuning in,
We should
you've
have
missed a
to
good
fall
first
out.
half of the show. We've got lots more to talk about. We're going to be back right after this.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home.
With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you.
Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, Shouldn't it be?
We are back, the second half of On the Record. Every once in a while, I have a show where I never know what's going to happen. And this has certainly turned out to be one of those shows. We have a very dynamic discussion. A very dynamic discussion. It's a no-holds-barred show, and gentlemen, I think it's important that we have these kinds of debates because it helps to give the public a different viewpoint on things as opposed to just one side sort of bellowing out. But one of the things that this government has tried to do is to provide affordable housing and property for homeowners. $30,000 for a lot is what government was offering first-time home owners. So far, only about 60 people have qualified. First of all, what does that say about the state of our economy, our people, and our ability to qualify for these things? I mean, on the surface, it seemed like a good initiative, giving people access to affordable housing, which is very important. Everybody wants to have their own piece. And when you look at the low numbers of people who have qualified, it really speaks to quite a few things. Was the initiative set up properly? Are people really in that bad of a financial position? Or is it that we have put some things in place that are just unattainable in terms of qualifying? Bush me, I'm going to start.
I'm going to go that first because I haven't gone first yet. All right. It goes back again to what I've been saying all along. The government does not plan. The government had access to all of this information, okay? The public service, who makes what, how much money is being paid out in mortgages, insurance already, okay? The government payroll, I think there's like two-thirds is going out into mortgages and what have you, not right? So they should have known before they even offered it to the uniform branch that most of them would not be able to qualify. All right, there we go again. No study.
What should have been the alternative then?
What should have been the alternative? I think it should have been offered to the general public, first of all, to begin with. And second of all, I think we need to change the way we... Okay, if someone qualifies for $30,000 to get the property, okay? Now, you need another what? You're a banker, you need what, $80,000, $90,000 now to get the home. I mean, what are the possibilities of that and finish a home in 2 years? I mean, you think that...
But if you look at it, it is a good investment. I mean, $30,000
if you can afford
for someone just starting out for a piece of property.
If you can afford it. But like I said, if they had done a proper study, they would realize that, hey, not even the uniform branch, most of the public service probably would not, a lot of them would not qualify because, you know what? They talk about the number houses, taking the money from the parents, buying numbers and gambling, but the banks are just as bad. You know what I mean? Because you know this man coming here, he's only making $2,000 a month. He's already paying $1,200 in loans, and you go ahead and still give him a loan for a car. Okay?
Yeah, but,
just as bad. So
and while I hear you on that, and we're going to go back to the topic, but then we have to be responsible ourselves as well. You can't blame the bank because they qualified you for a loan. You have to know what you can afford.
Part of being responsible, the government, sometimes we have to put rules in place to protect ourselves. Okay? There are speed limits. Right? You have to drive with your seatbelt on. We put rules in place to protect ourselves.
So you're advocating for the government to...
Hold on. So financially, we need to put rules in place.
So you'll be okay with the government telling you what to do with your money?
No, not to do with my money, but with the credit bureau at least. I don't even think the banks communicate.
But are we not moving towards that? We're moving towards a credit. Credit bureau is about to be set up.
Yeah, so credit bureau. So if your loans go more than 40% of your salary, you need to make it law. You cannot get the loan.
But plenty people would be getting no loan.
That's what you got to do. You have to do what you have to do.
Randy, what's your take on this now? It seemed like a sensible program on the surface, and it seemed like a good deal.
Yeah. No, my understanding of it is the government not only wanted you to qualify for this property, but they wanted you to be able to afford to build in the shortest possible time.
Exactly.
And so I kind of understand that because you don't want to just give away property
and it sits there forever. And becomes derelict.
And so, I have no real issue with it. It just goes to show that, as Bahamians, certainly we need to be more responsible in our finances and how we operate. I mean, Bahamians, we finance furnitures. I mean, it's probably one of the places.
We finance vacations, which I think is one of the. I think that's a travesty. And I even see some banks have a prom loan for the life of me, I can
You
never
telling me the banks are
understand.
not as bad as the
I think they are.
gaming houses?
Now, I think
I support you on that. But go ahead.
so if you look at the history of like the housing program, right? What it was the government builds the house and they give the keys over. And they say, this is your house, X, Y, Z. But what governments would have seen is that shortly after that, areas the people might not have kept the yard as well as they might have, right? And what economic studies have shown is that when you work for money and use that money that you worked for to buy something, you treat it better than if someone gave you it for free, right? And so hold on, let me finish up for 1 second. And so what the government is saying is we're going to put the properties down at a very reduced rate. And then you save some money and you purchase it. And like Randy would have pointed out, the point of the 2 years so people don't buy it and sit on it. Now, when you say 60 people only qualify, that was not nationwide. That was out of the armed services, right? Those are 60 people. They had 72 lots, 60 qualified for the 72 lots.
That's still a lot.
Right, but this is just out the gate. This is a program that's just starting. Remember, this is a complete shift. Now the government usually does this, because usually it was build it, give it away. Now it's how do we make it available? Then we assist in the development.
Yeah, it's
and
real
therefore
ownership.
we will see that those communities, the value of those properties will now go up because the people who invest in it will take care of it.
Okay.
And so it's now a good investment.
So as we speak, go ahead, very quickly, we got to move forward.
First of all, I don't think we can even begin to talk about mortgage relief until we talk about reducing the prime rate. And as a banker, I'm sure you can appreciate that. So why can't we reduce the prime rate, central bank, and offer banks some incentives who stay below 2%? That saves what, $400, $500 off your mortgage off the top. Off the top.
I definitely think that, and I think Bush was mentioning it in terms of banks and the relationship they have with consumers, right? I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Very
it needs
contentious.
to be visited 100%. But central bank released a study. It said 90% of Bahamians have less than $5,000 saved up in their savings account.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we look at it, we could talk about the banks, but we also have to look introspectively at ourselves and on our own practices as well.
It also, I think it's been announced that the banking fees are about to be reduced.
Correct.
Correct. Which would bring some relief because people have been complaining about that for a long time. But I use that as an example of a success that you all really should be touting and speaking to, but it just seems that these things can continue to be overshadowed. But okay.
I'm going to say one more thing.
Sure.
This is very simple, The housing, right? What we can do, what the government can do, the government can take one property 100 by 100, okay? You can put three condominiums on there, 30 by 30. That's a pretty decent sized house, up and down, right? Now what you have is 3 persons sharing the cost of that one piece of property, okay? And also now the price of the building and construction goes down. So now here it is, you get a better home at a cheaper rate. Voila, it's
But
simple.
isn't that similar to sort of the government housing situation? You
Yes,
see
it
what
is, but I'm saying
happens.
but it's more affordable now.
I guess
talking
we can
about
argue.
affordable-
Okay,
we're talking about
let's
affordable
move
housing.
forward. One of the issues that has come up has been the government's intent to remove these shanty towns. They have attempted to remove them. It is now caught up in what seems to be a protracted legal battle now. Randy, I'm going to start with you. This is something that has been very vexing to a lot of Bahamians for a long time. They've called for it. It has come forward, but it has hit some snags. Some people have said, it's inhumane and we should not do it, while others have said, level everything and let's get these people out of these areas and remove these slums. But from your perspective, what could have been done differently, or what would the PLP have done differently?
Certainly, I do believe that the initiative, as I've seen, is a step in the right direction. Certainly, we want to be able to certainly find a way to, remove shanty towns based on, I think, more so the living conditions than anything else. Some of them are inhumane, and it's been problems. So I do agree that some plan has to be in place. Certainly the laws take its course. We know that Fred Smith would have done what he does because he represents them, and so I personally have no issue with the policy. Once it's done in a humane manner, then I have no issue with that.
I mean, from what I understand, the Haitian ambassador said that they wanted to buy some property, right? And the government told them no. Why can't we sell them property? We selling property to everybody else. It's all negotiations, you know.
Do you think Bahamians would have gone for that?
Listen to me. If
You want to sell property?
so what's wrong with selling property? So what's
Not
wrong?
every town is
Slow down. It's all diplomatic, okay? You speak to the Haitian embassy, or you speak to the Prime Minister directly. Look, we have X amount of your persons in our country. This is what's happening. It would be inhumane of us to just go in and barricade everything. The kids, the women, the children, elderly, sick, okay? We need to we need to work something out here. And I'm sure the Haitian government would in some way assist. Which they actually opened the door by saying that we are willing to purchase property. So we don't have to sell property to them, you know. But at least it opened the door now that we can have a
But you
conversation.
don't think that that would have created sort of, I don't want to seem insensitive, but you don't think that that would not have created another haven for immigrants?
No, not at all. That's why I'm saying. Listen to me again. Listen to me carefully. When I say, when the Haitian ambassador comes to me and says, look here, Bush, we want to buy some property now. So you're selling property to Chinese, you're selling property to Bin Laden them. I want to buy some property, right? So I say to them, look here. Tell you what,
the Chinese are building a hotel. That's different.
No, nevertheless, the door is now open for us to have a conversation. Okay, so that we can do something about it in a humane way.
I need to bring you back on the show when we discuss that. Should we sell?
Yeah, bring me back.
Should we sell property today? Should
I come back and
bring on some
McGrain too, right?
to debate that? Colin, this whole Shantytown situation.
Yeah, the thing about this, and I think both Bush and Randy would have alluded to it, is that you have to respect law, but you have to also respect life as well, right? And I think that they would agree with me in terms of applauding the government for tackling a very vexing issue. Yes, in all things, when you start something new, there are hiccups, things that don't go as smooth as you might have wanted it to. The things that you might, in retrospect, you might have done differently or done better. But I think what's important though is it's the focus and the intention to deal with the problem. And Bahamians, and you can almost understand both sides when you look at it. You can understand why Bahamians would be vexed. You try to build an apartment, build a house, and you got to jump through 10,000 hoops. But
Any plans to change that? I mean, that's very prohibitive,
Right. And so this is another initiative that the government is doing. They're simplifying the process to build. They're simplifying the process to start businesses. They're simplifying the process to do all these different things. They're putting them they're putting departments together. And so they think you'll see these things benefit.
Make sure to let us know, when you do these things, so we can discuss them. Gentlemen, we've got to take our final break in the show. We've got an exciting round. When we come back, Randy, we're going to talk a little bit about the PLP. What's happening? You all have a convention coming up shortly, and certainly, opposition politics. I always say it's much more fascinating to me because of certainly what it represents. And certainly, we're going to reintroduce our lightning round, which is going to be a lot of fun. We'll explain that. Stay with us. Our final segment will be up right after this quick break.
I'm Davriel, here with Rev Tips, where we answer your most important Rev service questions. Today's question is, how can I control my TV volume using my Rev remote? Here's how. Press the cable button and OK button simultaneously until your cable button lights up. Press your volume up button once. Your cable button light should flash. Once your cable button light flashes, press cable once. Enjoy your Rev TV experience. Simple, right? Be sure to join us next time.
We are in our second season of On the Record, and we thank you, our viewing audience, for allowing us into your homes every Thursday at 8 p.m. We value your opinion, and we want you to be a part of our discussions. So make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram and comment on our exciting topics. Remember, it's all on the record.
It's a wealth of entertainment with a touch of class and sophistication. A journey of the senses with an unparalleled sense of style. Discover hidden adventures that are cradled in the palms of paradise. Traverse the annals of human history and explore the farthest reaches of exclusivity. It's an excursion that few can afford, but all should experience. And it's only on AWE.
We are back on the record tonight. This is our final segment. Open debate, all parties out, no holds barred is our topic tonight. Gentlemen, we have spent an inordinate amount of time talking about the governing party and certainly their record in office and some of the policies that have come about as a result of the Free National Movement's ascension to office. But certainly, as a part of politics, there is always opposition politics, and the official opposition, the Progressive Liberal Party, is preparing to go into a convention. As per the announcement of the chairman, that convention is scheduled for November. Randy, I'm going to start with you. A lot of people, well, it was very clear after the election that the PLP needed to do some work. I mean, the message was sent very loud and clear. Has that happened in a meaningful way? Has the PLP changed, or is this, just new clothes on the same body?
No, certainly it's an ongoing process. Certainly we have a vibrant chairman. We have a new leader who has committed to some changes, and he has been doing just that. This past couple months ago, we had a constitutional convention where there were some great recommendations made, and certainly at our next convention, they will have to be ratified by the NGC and the council. And so we're moving. Certainly we know that the changes that have to be made, and the leadership has been taking a step in that direction to make sure that these things happen.
Bushmi, you and the DNA are watching from the sidelines.
Watching.
You're observing all of this,
Watching.
but from your perspective, has anything changed with the PLP?
Certainly the only thing that we're waiting for
Has
our
anything
Constitution is also making way for the DNA. So certainly Bushmi and the deputy leader of the party, there's space involved. Come on
You're on a
over.
Big Ten.
Big Ten, a very big Ten.
No, but Bushmi, this question you have not answered me.
Give me the
Has
question again, please,
anything
because-
changed from your perspective with the
With
PLP?
the PLP?
Yeah.
Well, I can't answer that yet because
You can answer it.
it's only 4 people in there.
Yeah, okay.
Alright.
Well,
Only 4 people in there.
it's still a functioning party.
now,
No, there are only 4 people in the house.
I try to fix my house.
No, but no, I can come to you in a minute. There are 4 people in the house of assembly, but the party is still functioning.
Yeah, I think Mr. Davis have seen the mistakes that the PLP has made, and I think he's going to try to honestly make a change for the next election. How effective that's going to be, I don't know. It's up to the voters.
Your
Right?
party has a new leader, a new deputy leader.
Well, we don't have a new leader. What happened is
this is
Mr. McCartney stepped down, so of course Chris Mortimer assumed interim. Okay.
Well, he's still
So-
a new leader, but
Interim
he's
leader,
leading
yeah.
the party, eh?
Yeah, interim
Well,
leader.
you don't sound sure.
Yeah, he's leading the party,
Okay,
yes.
all
But we're going to have a convention, of course, and there'll be elections. For
What's the
all
future of the
offices.
DNA?
The future of DNA is...
You come through 2 elections.
The future of the DNA is to govern, okay? And we need to get ready because there may be a snap election. What do you think?
Get out.
I hear Burr saying 2020. I don't know. He might know something here on the inside. I don't know. Maybe a snap. So we got to be in place. We got to get our ducks in a row.
As the governing party, someone is always on your heels. What, from your perspective, is your biggest threat now, or is there a big threat
DNA?
from the opposition? Now, when I say opposition, I don't want to just talk about the PLP.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that. No. I didn't. I want
He
to
is a
just.
Bethel. So
Here's the thing. I don't apologize for my last name. I don't apologize. I don't apologize for that. I don't run from that. But here's the thing. When we talk about the PLP, this is a party that is entrenched in its ways, right? We have a leader that has been a part of those ways for his entire political career. Like I remember he was deputy prime minister, deputy leader for X amount of years, and so the hope that according to Randy that they're gonna change. Now I don't particularly agree with him. I see that as slim to none in terms of the PLP coming back to office. I don't think so with Brave Davis as leader. The Bahian people do not trust Brave Davis. And that's the big issue.
Is it true
And that's
though?
the
Is it true that the FNM is hoping that Brave remains leader?
Fingers crossed, praying.
Why?
Because at the end of the day, the main people do not trust Brave Davis. You ask the average
Randy,
you ask the average person if he could travel to the U.S. without a diplomatic passport, and what they would tell you.
So we can trust.
What they would tell you.
Can we can trust this government we have now?
So Randy, when you hear that now,
Tell us about the Oban deal. Listen, the FNM came on. The FNM came on the premises of being transparent. You know, they sent a delegation to London the other day. We're still waiting to hear the cost of that trip. You know, just past this weekend, he's in New York with the chairman of Parks and Beaches, Parks and Beaches in New York. Seriously, you're talking about the deal, the Grand Lucayan deal. Unseal the deal. What are you keeping secret?
Let's Randy, we got to be careful now, because there's receipts about the times about the blown budget in Atlanta. There's receipts about the blown value of cost in Atlanta. So we can talk about them. But I don't want to talk about them. We can talk about the PLP.
That's all the report. That's all the report.
You said something that concerned me.
Yeah.
That's all the report.
You said that you hope that you have your fingers crossed that Brave stays on. So I assume you said that to me that if Brave stays on, that's an automatic win for the FNL.
No, not matter.
Because you know the DNA.
what if somebody else ascends to be leader? What if Chester Cooper ascends to be leader?
I think Chester Cooper is an excellent candidate, and I think the PLP.
That'll be a big challenge to the FNM.
And I think Chester Cooper should come over.
No, I said he becomes leader of the PLP.
And I think Chester should look at running for leader. I think if the PLP was smart, they would make Chester.
You're missing my point though. The point I'm trying to make to you is this. You saying that if Brave stays on, Mr. Davis stays on, that it's a better chance for you guys to win. You realize DNA is out there?
Man, listen.
So you're not saying DNA is not a factor? Hold on.
Forgive him, he is a Bethel.
And here's why. The reason I say that is because we have seen that both the PLP and the FNM has won landslide victories with the DNA there. You see, and what the DNA forgets, and what I find the DNA is forgetting, is that.
Listen, what is more dangerous than
gentlemen,
corruption?
we've got to move very quickly. Let's wrap up. We've got to move forward. Go ahead, the last thing. Go ahead. Come, gentlemen, we're running out of time.
The FNM,
win a seat and talk tough.
did not win the last general election.
Win a seat, man.
He knows that.
When you win a
Terry
seat,
Christie won the election for the FNM, okay?
the PLP's, I mean the DNA.
Good point. Gentlemen, we are moving. All right. Thank you very much. That discussion is good. We are moving to the lightning round. Our lightning round is just yes or no answers. If you don't answer, I'm going to move on. That means you don't have the answer. Okay? So, gentlemen, here we go. This is our lightning round. We have some individual questions, and then I'm going to throw some questions out to all of you. All right. Randy, do you think Brave Davis will continue as leader of the PLP into the next election?
Yes.
Okay. Carlisle, is the FNM losing ground steadily with the Bahamian people, yes or no?
No.
Is the FNM and PLP one and the same in terms of governance?
Definitely. Affirmative.
Definitely, yes. Okay. All right. Rodney, is the PLP convention expected to be contentious?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. Carlisle, is the FNM party a divided party?
No.
All right. And Bushaby, will the DNA ever be a viable third party in terms of governance?
A viable third party?
Yeah, you are a third party.
Yes.
Okay. All right. This goes out to all my guests now. Gentlemen, has the FNM lost popular support at this point?
Yes.
No.
Of course.
All right. Can Brave Davis lead the PLP to an election victory?
No.
Do you have no answer? Randy?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Okay. Will the DNA party survive as a party into the next election?
No.
Of course.
No.
Randy.
All right.
I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Gentlemen, is the Bahamian economy making a turnaround?
No.
The numbers show yes.
All right. Has the opposition PLP made enough internal change to win over Bahamians again?
No.
No.
Yes.
All right. is the current leadership of the DNA, the current leadership, strong enough to lead the party into some kind of parliamentary representation in the next election?
Yes.
No.
I don't have an answer for that.
Gentlemen, thank you for participating in our lightning round. You did a great job. I just want to say, first of all, that I thoroughly enjoyed the show. We have had a great discussion, given our viewers a lot to think about. And when I have these discussions, it always tells me that the future of politics is bright. And even though we disagree, certainly we can agree to disagree and have these kinds of conversations. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
I certainly have enjoyed tonight's show. Some point I can bring you back on and talk about that. That Nation ambassador point just loud. I can find some guests to bring you back on. But gentlemen, all the best to you. I know that you all have bright futures in politics, and sometimes it's not always in the front line. But I always say that sometimes the kingmaker is greater than the king. So thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by tonight. We hope that you have enjoyed tonight's show. Special thanks to our guests, Bushimi Brister, Randy Roll, Carlisle Bethel, my producer, of course, my technical staff, and of course you, our audience, for watching week after week. Be sure and join us for more On the Record, same time, same place next week. Once again, I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. We'll see you next time.